it's not every day that you can put a helmet on and go 100 miles an hour without somebody following you with lights on. I'm Nick Van Stradonk, number 13, Bulldog Polaris T&N Racing snowmobile. I am a professional ice oval racer. Take your automobile on the freeway and go 100 miles an hour, and then try and take an off-ramp that's a 90-degree off-ramp to go back the other direction, and then keep doing that over and over again. That's what we do. My family owns a Polaris dealership in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. My grandparents started the dealership in 1969, and when my dad turned 18, my aunt and him took it over. And being in a dealership family, I guess if you want to call it that, we rent snowmobiles on the weekends, and I would always go with my dad to pick up snowmobiles. And we happened to be going through a northern town in Wisconsin and saw a bunch of kids out on the lake racing snowmobiles and stopped to look at it, and that was kind of the end of the story. Just kept going from there. We showed up for the first weekend and rented a snowmobile, rented a helmet, all the safety equipment, and did fairly well. We just kept evolving from there. We moved, raced the kitty cat circuit for a while, and then the manufacturers released the 120, which is like the juniors or the kids size snowmobile. Raced those, and then eventually went to 340s, and then some of the fan-cooled snowmobiles, 500, 600, stuff like that, and just worked my way through the years up to where I'm at now, which is the Pro Champ class, which is the most elite, top of the line class, I guess. It's been quite a ride. Anytime you do 25 years of something, it's a long time and you learn a lot. And in the aspect of snowmobile racing, there's a lot that goes into it manufacturing-wise, fabrication-wise. And it's really cool because we get to build our snowmobile. We build everything from scratch. So some things we do have machined because we don't have that capability, but for the most part, we build everything that's on the snowmobile. I think what drives a lot of people is the fact that we have the freedom to do pretty much what we want. And then a lot of people ask, how safe is it? And everybody's going the same direction. And I've raced with most of these guys my entire life. So we're friends until it goes to the racetrack, and then it's, racetrack rivalries. But other than that, we all respect one another, which is a pretty cool feeling, especially when you're, I've laid on snowmobiles before going through a corner at 70 miles an hour and not worried once about if they were gonna try and take me out or hit me or anything like that. So, I mean, it's cool to have a group of people that can rely on one another that way and still do what we do. I like adrenaline. I like anything to keep the heart going, anything action. It's just to try and I think prove to yourself that you can do what you want to do if you're willing to work hard enough at it is kind of a big motivator as well. I don't like being told what I can and can't do. I guess a breakdown of the class we run, they're 440cc engines, they're 120 horsepower, and they have to weigh 375 pounds. We'll pull anywhere between 1.5 to 2 Gs in the corners. So I'm 140 pounds soaking wet on any given day. And when I'm trying to wrestle something that's twice my weight at 80 miles an hour while pulling 2 Gs in the corner, it's a bit of a workout. Cardio-wise, you have to be extremely fit because our race is considered a sprint, but it's an enduro all at the same time. We're running, I think, most of our races in the finals are probably 11 to 15 minutes straight. You have no time to react or to think about reacting to a scenario, so your mental game you have to be extremely mentally, because you honestly don't have time to think, you have time to react. It's extremely dangerous. Like I said, it's 100 miles an hour with no seatbelt, no roll cage. The only thing between you and the ice is a snowmobile. I've been fortunate enough to get in some accidents, but nothing serious enough where I'm still here, I'm walking and talking. There have been some people that have been seriously hurt, and even some people that have been killed doing it, but to live life scared isn't the way to live. You could wake up in the morning and trip and fall, and that could be it too, get in a car accident. It's safe in a sense that it's a controlled environment. Protective gear is necessary, it's a requirement. Everybody's going the same direction, so it's not like you're worrying about somebody going backwards. And typically, like I said, we're only out there for 11 to 15 minutes at a pop sometimes. So it's dangerous, but it's still controlled. And I think that's kind of a big draw factor for a lot of the guys here is the danger aspect. And that's where, I think our sport is separated from most other sports in that aspect. You can watch car racing and motocross, and yeah, they're racing close, but motocross isn't going 100 miles an hour, and car racing, they're covered by tubes and steel and roll cages. We don't have any of those luxuries. About the closest thing I think you could get to it would be like a superbike race. And granted, they're going fast as well, but I don't know, it's hard to explain. I've never done any other sport. It shares a lot of similarities between snowcross, motocross, I say probably even a lot of your bike racing. But there again, you're targeting muscle groups that you're looking for max performance out of for short durations of time, compared to like triathlon or anything like that. So you have to always remember that muscle mass doesn't equal muscle longevity. And that's kind of the approach that I've taken over the last 10 years.
Year or two that I would watch Nick, he hadn't been in an accident yet. So my heart was just like, go faster, Nick, come on, Nick, get him, come on, beat him, And then a couple of years in, I had seen him get into a crash. And so then my heart dropped, and like, my heart's pumping 1,000,000 miles a minute, and I'm so worried about my husband. And so now when I watch him race, it's a mix of being so, oh my gosh, Nick, go faster, come on, I want you to win this, And then also, God, please watch over him, keep him safe, and make him be okay and everything. So it's a lot of emotions of wanting him to win, because, who doesn't want him to win,
To think about anything. Everything that you're doing once you're racing is a reaction and a reflex. And doing it as long as most of us have done it, and that's exactly what it is, as a reflex. If you have time to think about what's going to happen, it's too late. It's almost hard to explain. It's definitely unique, and I don't think you can experience it unless you actually do it. I'm a pretty laid-back guy, and I just want to go race a snowmobile. So to have people interested in it sometimes is awkward for me. But like I said, it's informative for most people, and some people really enjoy it. So it's just something that you do, and you just be yourself. Energy into this sport, and I love this sport. I've devoted this year 25 years to doing it. And anytime you do something for 25 years, it typically means you thoroughly enjoy it. I guess I'd love to be remembered for somebody that would go out of his way to help anybody. And I think our team has done that. We get a lot of knocks on the trailer of other teams looking for a part, looking for advice. Typically our trailer is the last one to turn the lights off at night, because being a big family atmosphere, we do what we love to do. Actually, two guys are kind of the shot callers, Alan and Tom. Alan's my dad, and Tom is kind of the crew chief, if you want to call him that. They make all the calls, whether it's jetting to make sure the sled runs right. Dave does all of our studs, along with Ryan. And then we have a couple guys, Jim and Larry, that kind of do anything we ask them to do, whether it's just going over nuts and bolts, making sure everything's tight. My chiropractor comes with me typically to take care of me, and if I get like an ache or a pain, or any touch-ups I might need to keep my body at 100%. And then the list goes on. We've got a couple guys that weld. That's all they do, is they weld on the chassis and just make sure that everything is put together right. And then we got a couple guys that are general mechanics that take care of the truck and take care of the trailer. But for the most part, anybody on the team can do anything that everybody can do. So we have a good mix of fabricators on the team that are knowledgeable with all types of fabrication. So it works out well, especially if somebody gets sick or can't get off work. somebody can take their place. Because I mean, there's a lot of guys that take a lot of vacation from their personal life to come with on the weekends, and they don't ask us for money. You know, they don't expect to get paid. They do it because they love to do it. So we're extremely fortunate in that aspect. I'm extremely blessed to have the family I have. I mean, we're gone. We've been gone for Christmases. We've been gone for New Year's. We've been gone for, you know, everything under the sun. And my family allows us to go everywhere at any given time. You know, and they don't complain. I think that's the biggest thing. Being gone from family and missing out on family is tough. But they understand and they don't complain about it. So having their support and being able to do what I love to do without any complaining is pretty nice. Racing has given me the opportunity to realize what my body's potential is and find the limit and just stay at the limit without going over. So I typically will start training in September, and it's 5 days a week. Get up pretty early. Get up typically in the fall time. We're extremely busy at work. I'm a service manager and mechanic at our Polaris dealership, but it's tough, especially when you got to get back into it again. Trying to start from scratch after being, I guess I'll say, off all summer. Getting back into the routine of things is tough because that means you're devoting a lot more time that you already don't have to getting back into the routine, and that's where my wife really kind of pushes me and make sure I get my butt out of bed in the morning. I do like to sleep in when I can, but that's this time of year that doesn't happen much. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting up and get going, I guess. My mind and what goals I want to set, what goals I want to achieve. So on the weekends when you can go play and you're your own boss and you make your own rules, there really is no other feeling like it. So I typically will get up at 4:30 and then drive into town and work out and then go to work. Come home, work on this stuff, and just repeat cycle until Saturday, Sunday. Try to save Saturday, Sundays for friends and family, just because with the race season being close, it's going to be time to be away, and friends and family are really important to me. So the more time I can spend with them, the better, but I still got to stay focused on my training program and do that stuff and make sure I'm ready to go. Work slows down just a little bit so I can sleep in and try and focus more on the mental side of things. Just visualize racing and just stay focused, keep my head in the game, and by that point the body's kind of where it's going to be, and say probably November, mid-November, everything that's been happening in the gym isn't going to get any better. It's just a matter of staying fit-wise where I'm at and maintaining from that point. So the mental game starts there. The gym helps too, going to the gym and just not worrying about anything else other than what I'm doing to get ready is another big factor in staying relaxed. My wife and I met about 5 years ago. We attended the same school, and it was just one of those deals. When I went to class, it was a small engines class and she was the only girl in the class. It's kind of like, okay, just trying to maybe slide by or get an easy credit, but she actually was interested and she actually knew what she was doing. And fast forward a few years to after high school, and we ended up meeting. I was actually training, I was mountain biking, and we ended up meeting by her house. Come for me to realize we only lived like 5 miles apart. So it was kind of like an eye-opener, and she knew what I did, but I don't think she had a full grasp on what actually went into what I did on the weekends with racing. And she fell in love with it, I think, just as much as I did. The speed, the adrenaline, everything about it. And I think she's one of my biggest motivators for me to do the best that I can.
When he's on the road, it takes a lot of patience and understanding because he's not home a lot. So I try to come to as many races as I can, just so we get to spend time together. Otherwise, we've got a lot of animals at home that I end up taking care of if he's gone, and it's hard not being with your husband.
The more you know about yourself, the more you can push yourself to achieve anything you want. By the time the season's done, I'm ready to just stay home. I don't want to go on a vacation. I want to go to work. I want to have weekends back. It gets long, especially when the season doesn't go your way. When, you know, something with the sled isn't right, or just race weekends themselves are just long when they're not good. So if you're not winning, obviously they're not good. And that's the biggest struggle, I think, for the team, is by the time we're at the end of the season, it's like, okay, I need a break. You know, we typically take a couple weeks off, but then we're right back at it. You know, when the season's done, we take our 2 weeks off, and then we start building another snowmobile. We go through the trailer, the truck, and the race shop gets cleaned.
Just encouraging him is the biggest thing. Like, I have heard of spouses who aren't really crazy about their husbands racing, and I get it, I totally get it. It's scary, it's a lot involved, and they're putting their lives on the line, you know, accidents happen all the time, and just knowing this is like their world, they're so passionate about it, just to be supportive and encourage them, and come to as many races as you can and just be there for them.
Get a little more speed out of the sled too. I think we're a little short on mile per hour on a big track, but you know, that's the way it goes. It wasn't the best results that we wanted, but we're going home healthy. You know, we learned a lot about the new sled, and it's always a big learning curve for us every year when we come here. So just going home healthy and with a sled that's in one piece yet is kind of something to be positive about.
I was taught from a young age to set a goal that's not so hard that you won't accomplish it, and it's attainable. But don't make it so easy that you don't have to work at it, and that's carried through racing and just daily life in general. Snowmobile racing for me has always gone hand in hand. In some different applications, but for the most part, it's all the same to me. We're not just sitting on the sled, we're leaning, we're pulling, we're fighting, counter steering, steering back into braking, throttle, body positioning, move a foot, you know, an inch so you can get off the sled a little further. So it's a giant wrestling match with something that weighs, you know, twice my weight. So, you know, conditioning wise, you have to be completely in it all the way. Learning the work ethic side and everything that I did because I thought that's what needed to be done, carried over into my adult life. I mean, is it dangerous? Yes, but you learn so many life lessons out of what we do that you're not going to experience at a young age unless you get your child into, you know, any sport. But ice oval racing is something that is a very good tool to teach children how to go through life. You know, you want something, work at it. What you put into it, you're gonna get out of it. My biggest dream was to win the Eagle River World Championship, and in 2012, I won my first one. And it came, the only reason I won it was because I had a team that was willing to work as hard as I was, and we were focused and driven, and we set a goal. The goal was to win, and we accomplished that goal. It took us a few years to figure out the recipe for it, but you know, motivation and dedication are two of the biggest factors into what drives me to do what I do. And I wouldn't have had any inkling of what that was if it wasn't for competition sports, racing, my family, the way that I was brought up, that, you know, if you're gonna do something, you might as well do it right the first time, because you're just going to waste time doing it again otherwise. You want to go out, you want to win, you're going to work your butt off to win. You want to just go out and show up and just be here and hang around, then you're not going to do very well. It's just the way it works. Able to push past my goals, it's amazing. You typically don't realize it because you're racing, but by the time the checkered flag flies and you cross the finish line, you've surpassed your goal that you wanted to accomplish, then you kind of relish in it for a little bit, but then you also at the same time realize you have to set a harder goal now. So it's a small victory for a short amount of time, but that's the way life is. You get small victories here and there, you take them and you move on. I mean, we're out here to compete, but we're out here to put on a show for the fans that enjoy what we're doing. So you know, for us and our fan base, it's kind of a balancing act between staying focused and devoting the time to take care of them. I want to win. I want to win 2 more world championships. I'm 2 years away from retiring. Kind of bittersweet. I'm ready to move on in my life, but at the same time, I have a lot of things that I'm not finished with yet in the sport. So to win 2 more world championships would definitely be something I could confidently walk away from and just completely be done.